immediate shock and suspense. Hook the audience with impossible odds and the legendary danger surrounding Bumpy Johnson. The story opens in a smoke-filled back room of a Manhattan speakeasy. 1935. The air heavy with whispers and tension. Dutch Schultz, notorious for his ruthlessness and unflinching ambition, gathers 12 of the deadliest men he could find, each one a hardened killer with a reputation that could send shivers down the spine of any street in New York. Their mission is clear: eliminate Bumpy Johnson, the man whose name strikes fear and commands respect throughout Harlem. Some say Schultz believed sheer numbers would crush this legend. Others whisper he underestimated the quiet, calculating intelligence that had made Bumpy untouchable. Their 12 men listen to their orders, their faces grim, each man aware of the gravity of the task, but none fully grasp the storm they are about to enter. Meanwhile, Harlem moves in rhythms only Bumpy understands. From the dimly lit alleys to the hidden doors behind jazz clubs, every step, every sound is catalogued in his mind. He is not just a man. He is a strategist, a master of patience and foresight. Some say he can anticipate a man's next move before it is even considered. Others believe he reads fear as easily as he reads the cards in a deck. The narrative shifts between the 12 men preparing for an attack and Bumpy's quiet movements, each scene layered with suspense. The audience feels the weight of inevitability, the sense that these men are about to walk into a trap they cannot see. As the 12 make their way to Harlem, the tension becomes almost unbearable. Conversations hush in nearby streets. Patrons of clubs glance nervously at shadows. The air itself seems to carry a warning. The stage is set, not with guns blazing, but with psychological precision. Bumpy's presence, though unseen, dominates every corner of Harlem. Each step the assassins take is measured against an invisible force, a man who turns the city into a chessboard. By the time they reach their target, fear has already taken hold. Among the 12, doubt spreads like wildfire. Some say only one man would survive this night. Others whisper that the survivor would return carrying a message that would echo through the underworld. The audience is gripped, 12 killers against one. Yet the odds feel perversely reversed. This opening establishes the legend of Bumpy Johnson, a man whose mind, patience, and strategy make him untouchable. A figure whose story will become myth before the night is even over. Build Bumpy's legend, audience admiration, and context for why he is untouchable. Harlem's streets were a living organism, breathing rhythm, danger, and whispers of power, and at its heart moved a man whose name commanded both fear and respect: Bumpy Johnson. Born into the unforgiving streets, his early life was a masterclass in observation, patience, and survival. Some say he could read people before they even spoke. Others whisper that his mind worked like a clock, precise and unrelenting. From small betrayals to tests of loyalty, every incident shaped him, teaching him the value of strategy, patience, and timing. Violence was never his first choice, but when necessary, it was precise, controlled, and terrifying in its efficiency. Scenes unfold across dimly lit alleys, underground poker rooms, and jazz clubs where deals were made in whispers. Bumpy's rise was never flashy. It was methodical, a series of calculated steps that left both allies and enemies in awe. Some say he could turn a street fight into a lesson in psychology, reading fear, hesitation, and intent as if they were written on a page. Others believe he manipulated perception itself, using the city as a chessboard, moving people like pawns without them ever realizing it. The audience feels this tension every glance, every footstep. Every subtle shift in the environment is loaded with meaning. By the time Schultz's 12 men arrive, Bumpy has already anticipated the storm. He knows the city intimately, every back door, every rooftop, every whisper of movement. Some say he could disappear into shadows that others could not even see. Others claim he sets the stage for fate itself. The narrative emphasizes his intelligence over brute strength, his ability to bend circumstances to his will without unnecessary violence. The tension grows as viewers understand that Bumpy is not just surviving. He is controlling, orchestrating events with the precision of a master strategist. Through this section, the audience begins to comprehend why Harlem reveres him. It is not just fear that commands respect, but the silent acknowledgement that Bumpy Johnson sees the world differently. He is a tactician, a myth in the making, a man who makes inevitability feel palpable. By highlighting his methods, his patience, and his quiet mastery over Harlem, the legend of Bumpy Johnson is deepened. The stage is set for the collision with Schultz's men. One man in command of a city, 12 killers walking into the unknown, and the audience senses the inevitability of the outcome. Introduce antagonist strategy. Heightened tension and audience anticipation for the showdown. Dutch Schultz was a man defined by ambition, fearlessness, and a belief that sheer force could bend even the most unyielding will. In the dim light of his Manhattan office, Schultz meticulously assembled 12 men, carefully chosen killers, each with a reputation steeped in blood and efficiency. Some say he believed the collective might of 12 lethal men could erase a single legend. Others whisper that his arrogance blinded him to the subtle, lethal intelligence that Bumpy Johnson wielded as easily as breathing. Schultz outlined the plan with precise authority, his confidence palpable, but beneath the surface lay a dangerous assumption that brains could be outweighed by numbers. Meanwhile, Harlem moved like a living, breathing organism, and Bumpy Johnson was its unseen heart. Every alley, every doorway, every rooftop was familiar territory. While Schultz's men planned in cold calculation, Bumpy observed in silent patience, anticipating movements, timing, and reactions with an almost supernatural clarity. Some say he never had to see his adversaries to know their intent. Others believe he could predict fear before it manifested. The tension between these two forces, Schultz's brute force arrogance and Bumpy's quiet, calculated strategy, is palpable. The audience experiences the growing dread and anticipation, aware that intelligence and strategy often trump numbers. As the 12 killers move toward Harlem, the narrative shifts between Schultz's growing confidence and the unshakable calm of Bumpy. Every step the assassins take feels heavy, preordained. Schultz imagines a swift victory. Bumpy has already mapped every potential outcome, turning even their advantage into a liability. Suspense coils like a spring, each flashback and subtle cue reinforcing the inevitability of the legend. The psychological tension is thick. Viewers see the contrast. Schultz relies on intimidation, weapons, and numbers, while Bumpy commands respect, influence, and foresight. The stakes are enormous, not just life or death, but the collision of myth and hubris. This section establishes Schultz's role as both a formidable antagonist and a foil, highlighting why only a man like Bumpy Johnson could survive 12 trained killers, and why the audience should hold their breath for what comes next. Show Bumpy's tactical genius, subvert expectations, build suspense and legend. The 12 men, each confident in their lethal skills, move through Harlem under the shadow of night, expecting an easy hunt. Every alley, every back street, every familiar doorway is a trap waiting to spring, but only to one man who knows the city better than any of them. Bumpy Johnson is already several steps ahead. Some say he could predict their moves before they even crossed the first street. Others whisper he controls the rhythm of Harlem itself, bending perception and expectation to his will. The tension is palpable. Each footstep taken by Schultz's killers carries the weight of impending disaster. Though they remain blissfully unaware, scenes unfold with cinematic precision. Shadows stretch across brick walls, whispers drift in from hidden corners, and subtle movements hint at a presence unseen. Bumpy's strategy is not one of confrontation but of manipulation. He moves invisibly, orchestrating misdirection, ensuring that each of the 12 killers feels exposed, uncertain, and, ultimately, powerless. Some say he turns the streets into a chessboard, moving unseen forces that shift the balance of power with silent efficiency. The audience feels a mounting dread, knowing that the hunters are becoming the hunted. As hours stretch on, frustration and fear ripple through Schultz's men. Their confidence begins to crack. Every misstep, every hesitation, is anticipated and turned against them. The narrative emphasizes Bumpy's intelligence over brute force. Not a single shot is fired, yet the psychological control he exerts is absolute. Some say the city itself seems to bend around him. Others believe that even shadows obey his strategy. The one survivor eventually emerges bewildered, shaken, and deeply humbled, a living testament to Bumpy's near mythical dominance. By the end of this section, the audience experiences the awe of watching a master strategist dismantle 12 trained killers without ever engaging directly. Suspense, fear, and admiration intertwine, reinforcing the legend. Bumpy Johnson is untouchable, operating in a realm where intelligence, patience, and perception outweigh sheer numbers and violence. The ambush that was meant to succeed becomes an invisible testament to his genius, setting the stage for the revelation that will follow in the aftermath. Deliver suspenseful payoff. Amplify Bumpy's legendary reputation through aftermath and psychological drama. Amid the silence of Harlem's streets, one man emerges from the shadows, a survivor of Dutch Schultz's 12-man strike. He is gaunt, shaken, and trembling not just from fear, but from the realization that he has witnessed something far beyond ordinary danger. Some say he carries the weight of the impossible in his eyes. Others whisper that he carries a warning that will forever echo through the underworld. He had gone in expecting dominance, expecting control, expecting to eliminate a man who, to Schultz, had become a thorn in his empire. Instead, he returns, bearing the undeniable truth. Bumpy Johnson cannot be defeated. The survivor's journey back is fraught with both physical and psychological tension. Each step through Harlem reminds him of the invisible web Bumpy had spun around the 12 men. Some say the survivor recounts his ordeal in hushed, trembling words. Others believe he delivers his report with a mixture of awe, shame, and reluctant respect. He carries more than a story. He carries the myth-proof that intellect, patience, and strategy are weapons more potent than any blade or gun. The audience experiences the palpable dread, mixed with admiration, as the man conveys how every step, every alley, and every moment was already anticipated. The notion of being hunted, yet never caught, hangs over the narration like a specter. Back in Schultz's office, the survivor delivers a message. The room falls silent. Schultz's arrogance, so carefully constructed, begins to crack. Some say he finally sees the limits of his brute force. Others whisper he realizes that legends cannot be destroyed by men alone. The weight of humiliation, fear, and awe converges in a single, unspoken acknowledgement. Bumpy Johnson is untouchable. Through this section, the audience witnesses the psychological mastery of a man whose power transcends mere physical dominance. Bumpy has not only survived 12 killers, he has turned the attempt on its head, cementing his reputation as a tactician of near-mythic proportions. Harlem and the underworld beyond will remember this night forever. The survivor, a living messenger, ensures that every whisper of Bumpy Johnson carries reverence, dread, and the undeniable truth. One man's intellect and patience outweigh an empire's might. Conclude with legend-building mythic ambiguity and reflective awe, leaving a lasting impression of Bumpy Johnson's untouchable status. The streets of Harlem never forget. Long after the night of the 12 killers and the lone survivor, whispers of Bumpy Johnson's unmatched intellect and unyielding dominance ripple through every corner of the city. Some say his patience and foresight were superhuman. Others believe that even time itself bends to his strategy. The narrative shifts from the immediate tension of the confrontation to the long shadow it casts. Harlem remembers not only the act but the legend, the myth of a man who could orchestrate events with precision, outthink 12 killers, and remain untouchable. The story examines the way Bumpy's reputation transcends physical presence. Every alley, every club, every corner where deals are whispered carries his imprint. Some say he does not need to be seen to be felt. Others whisper that his influence is like a force field, intangible yet undeniable. The survivor's tale spreads. The story of the 12 men who entered Harlem with confidence but left humbled, terrified, and awed. Each retelling adds layers to the myth, embellishing feats, heightening suspense, and reinforcing the aura of inevitability surrounding him. Audiences are left contemplating the nature of loyalty, betrayal, and respect. Bumpy's triumph is not measured solely by survival or dominance, but by the psychological power he wields, the reverence and fear he commands, and the strategic genius that shapes entire streets without ever firing a shot. He is a tactician, a strategist, a myth brought to life. Some say his legend grows in silence, fueled by whispers. Others believe it is the fear of the impossible that cements his place in history. By the end of this section, the audience is immersed in awe and reflection. Bumpy Johnson is not merely a man who survived an impassable attack. He becomes an enduring symbol of intellect, patience, and control in a world defined by violence. Harlem streets, the whispers in every corner, and the fear in every underworld figure's eyes stand as testament to his legacy. The legend is complete, a man who turned an attempted massacre into a story of untouchable dominance. whose strategies and psychological mastery elevate him to near-mythical status, forever etched in history as a figure whose power transcends time, fear, and mortality.